I see a lot of aesthetic professionals get in year 1, year 2 and want to give up.
You have to constantly reevaluate. It's going to always be that hill and valley. And when you're in the valley is when it gets very distressful and you want to quit.
But what happens is the Black aesthetic professionals, first of all, impatient. Hey, how you doing today? I want to welcome you to the Content Aesthetic Show, where we have different med spa owners, different aesthetic professionals come on the show to share their stories so they can keep inspiring you so you can keep thriving. And on today's episode, we have Karma Fouch. How are you?
I'm great. Very happy to be here.
I love that. So I want to know, how do you use your business to make a difference in your community?
So Skin to Go Wellness was founded 5 years ago to bring something different, an air of convenience, modern services to a city that did not have them. Yeah. We're located in Covington, Georgia, and we are the first Black-owned spa, transitioning into med spa as we speak. And so just bringing the city something they had never had before.
I love it. Why did you feel like it was your mission to bring something to that city?
So I'm a resident of Covington first. And having traveled across the city for work and things like that, for me, it was convenience first. And then the mission naturally was to satisfy the needs of the community. The residents are grateful that we exist there, so they don't have to travel for basic things, even if it's just a wax. You shouldn't have to go so far for those basic needs.
I love that. So take me back before 5 years. What were you doing?
So I have been a registered nurse for 20 years. And 5 years ago, I was an emergency department nurse manager. So my background is in corporate healthcare, ICU, critical, sick, the sickest of the sick. And so I had a moment where I desired to have more authority over my life. And, even as a manager, you still got to ask for time off and things like that. And I needed autonomy and to take all those skills and put it into my own company.
So how did you know, oh my gosh, let me just go start my own business? Because after that much time in corporate, that had to be a hard transition.
Well, even as an active nurse at the bedside and in the hospital, I always had entrepreneurial spirit. I was a travel agent for a hot second. I was always trying on something new that would allow me to kind of flex my muscles independently. And I discovered aesthetics. I had no idea what an esthetician was, say 2016. 2017, I enrolled. And I had the keys to my space before I even took my state boards. I was very intentional. And I knew that I was going to bring amazing customer service and care and everything to my clients, just without a doubt. There was no question.
So, but what was that take me to that mental space when you said, hey, I'm about to just go start my own.
Okay.
Bye-bye, y'all.
So let me tell you, they denied some time off. I requested time off for Essence Fest, right? Yes. And I was denied the time off, even though I asked for it months in advance as a leader. Yes. And you get all this smoke about, you drive your own bus, No, and then you still denied time off. So what that caused me to do was rethink the way I was living and how I managed my time and who had control over my time. So it was very much, okay, I got to do something different where if you're flying me to Florida to present these major hospital programs I've created, but I still get denied a weekend off, it was too much for me. And so I decided to go into aesthetics. I was actually going to open a barber school and go to barber college and open this amazing female-owned barbershop. Decided not to do that and realized that aesthetics was very much like a beauty nurse and it just fit right in the pocket. And so I was just very intentional. I got a ton of certifications. I trained a lot, even as a student. Yes. And then the rest is history. Of course, in that process, I discovered the Spa Boss Tribe, which is, you're very familiar with.
Yeah, shout out.
And so it gave me the tools I needed to really forge through and get it done.
I love that. And the reason why is because you said, let me take control of my time. See, some people will be like, oh, but that money over there, something. But you said, let me take control of my time. Was you always time driven? Or was it like a point in your life where you it's time for me to be me?
So it was a time where I was turning 40 and I said, I got to pivot, and I need to again take all these skills that they blow smoke up your behind about, and you're so amazing, but yet you can't have any authority over your life. And here's a cell phone, and here's a laptop, and here's all these leashes. And I knew I was capable of leading my own team. And so, it was the final straw. But I've always been very ambitious and very experimental in the things that I wanted to do.
I think the reason why I asked you that is because there's so many people right now that's stuck bedside, that's scared, that's too stuck to the money, that don't see that the time is lost, right? I say, what makes you rich are these two things. And these are the two things that you can't get back. That's time and life. As long as you got those two things, you are rich. Not money. Right. Money is it gonna come and go. You're gonna be up and down. Especially entrepreneurship. One minute you can have millions, next minute you can be negative, right? And so it's like once that moment you value time, you move a lot different, right? I don't believe it's no balance and like time and work life and home life. I don't believe in that, but I believe if you're in control of it, it's a big difference.
It's authority over your own stuff.
Yeah. So what was that like when you got the keys to your space? Like, did you come in there? Did you go crazy build out? Did you go hire employees? What was that?
When I started with a business partner. And lesson to those, vet your partner. I don't care if they're a friend or new, whatever. Make sure that you are equally yoked in this mission. But I did start off with a business partner. It was just the two of us. We split the schedule and we did not hire right away. We did not do a massive build out. We had to do a little modification, nothing crazy. 1,000 square foot space, beautiful. We have ceiling to floor windows, 8 of them wrapped around the building. It's amazing. And we started off very much spa. This particular person is also a paramedic and a cosmetologist. So I had no desire to go very clinical because I had been so clinical for so long. So my mistake at the time was focusing more on the fluffy stuff.
Tell me about it.
The V-steams were popping at the time. You were talking about a $45 V-steam. My conversation is different now. But we were focused on that buttery spa life as opposed to clinical results and where I am now. But yeah, we started off just the two of us rocking and rolling, and that's,
I want to go into both factors, but first I want to start with that fluffy stuff, right? I see a lot of aesthetic professionals run to what's trendy, right? And then don't give it enough time to actually sprout, right? And then they wonder why. It's like, why ain't I winning?
Right.
And it's because you're doing what everybody else is doing. And if you're doing what everybody else is doing and you after everybody, you already late to the party.
Yeah.
Right. And you didn't do your market research. You don't even know if this works in your demographic.
Right.
And so that's a lot of things I'm saying. I'm like, but like, what was that like? When did you realize that, oh, this fluffy, this is not?
So I'll say I was able to fully embrace the thought. I always kind of thought that, but I was able to fully embrace it once my business partner left. Because when you got to share ideas, I was always the leader. I was always the thought driver with our team, but you still have to share the decision. And so when you have someone else who wants to be fluffy and they want to bring, Hawaiian sliders to the grand opening, it was things like that did not work what my goal was. So once she was gone, I was able to fully go into the more clinical type services, even not being a med spa yet. Things like the skin tag and mold treatments, chemical peels, trainings, things that I naturally excelled in. I didn't have to share the decision making.
I love that. So give me some of the pointers that you learned when it came to, or that you can teach when it comes to vetting your partner. Woo. Just give me your top 5.
So I would say goals, right? Do we have the same short-term goals? Let's just talk 1 year. What is our vision for just 1 year from now? Forget about, we ain't gonna make it to the 5-year goal if we can't figure out the 1 year. Making sure that is clear. And the second one out is more of a personality factor. Sometimes you get someone who is a yes man. They want to impress you more than impress themselves. And I think I was in a situation where my business partner was more focused on wowing me than making sure she herself stood out. And so much so that people thought she was the assistant. And I was like, no, girl, you got to stand in your professionalism, be the owner. And so making sure they are not in it for the wrong reasons. And then lastly, again, priorities. I think it's all about priorities. Do we have the same life goals? Yeah. This person was still into certain personal factors with her life growth, and I was in a professional growth phase. Yeah. So we divided our views on that as well.
That's big. When it comes to finding a partner, is it about putting skin in the game? Is that like, hey, 50, is that
definitely
a big thing?
Putting skin in the game, and being in a position to put skin in the game? Just because somebody wants to put skin in the game doesn't mean they mentally are capable. It does not mean that their family will allow it. It's a lot of those factors. And you think because we've worked well together in the past, because we weren't new to each other, you think it'll just work. But this is a whole new ball game. And the sacrifices with entrepreneurship are totally next level.
Yeah, it's deep.
And it brings out the things. It brings out all those little nuances that you don't see just as a friend.
Yeah. So let me ask you that. When that partnership went south, did the friendship go south with it?
Eventually it did. It was a lot of dirt mixed in that too. Okay. So a lot of distrust. As I was fighting, and now keep in mind, we opened in 2019. We got shut down in 2020 because it was COVID. So I'm hustling, trying to keep our business open, and they just floating around doing God knows what. And so it became an unequal partnership, and things just really went downhill from there on personal and professional levels.
Oh yeah, that's crazy to open up during a pandemic. So what was that first year like for you?
So the first year was pre-pandemic, right? Okay. And so our 1 year anniversary would have been May 6th, 2020. We got shut down in March.
So what was that revenue?
It went down for sure. Thankfully, you start to see the silver lining of being a business owner with grants. And so there were, we had what was the PPP?
Yeah.
So there were things that happened to help keep things afloat, which was amazing. But I had to pivot, right? Yeah. So now I'm on Zoom teaching virtual V-STEAM classes every Sunday. I started, I bought a Cricut machine and I was making masks with the logos. Barbershops around the country were sending me their smocks to put so I pivoted, and she was just gone in the wind. And then pivoting services, it went from a lot of facials, and people were scary about that contact. Yeah. My lash girls didn't care, so we jumped back into lashes really heavy. And then I fall back on that V-STEAMs. It's a contactless service. Yeah. So I was able to constantly run those through. And I just shifted how people viewed our services. We came back on facials where I'm over your face and we're breathing the same air, to things where I could just kind of put you away, sauna blankets, things like that.
I love that. So being in business is 5 years now, right? So I see a lot of aesthetic professionals get in year 1, year 2 and want to give up. What would you say to them that might be on the verge of giving up because maybe it's a slow season? What kept you going?
So I would say constantly reevaluate. You have to constantly reevaluate. Yeah. It's going to always be that hill and valley. And when you're in the valley is when it gets very distressful and you want to quit. But that's when you also look at things and say, okay, well, what is working? What has worked? What can I push? Who can I partner with? How can I be seen more? I was on the radio. I was doing
everything,
billboards, everything. You have to get out there and push things into overdrive. So when you're not getting those wins, it's easy to feel defeated and say, just forget it. But that's when you turn up the juice and make a bigger name for yourself.
So tell me, so that means you're not scared to market. So what was the most you spent in 1 month on marketing?
The most I've spent in a month on marketing might have been a couple $1,000s.
Okay, why?
I did paid advertisements on the radio. Okay. I did constantly had billboard running. In this particular month, it would have been for product. So let's get specific. When I launched our non-laser permanent hair removal service, I used my marketing budget to purchase the products to launch a new service, right? And so I said, and it was my highest grossing month. Yeah. at that time, right? Because I saw the benefit of investing. So it was towards the products to market a full launch campaign. So it was the billboards, it was the radio, it was the actual products, marketing materials. So that was.
Okay. So how are you now with marketing?
Right now, I think I'm okay. I am actually, again, in this transition with the med spa, I kind of pulled back because I want to jump back out and do, as I wait on my launch.
That makes sense. So what made you say, hey, I want to transition into a med spa?
'Cause I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. It's time. And I've sat back and done standard spa services for so long. And I've been a nurse for 20 years and I've been sitting on my hands. Now, I will say I have pursued med spa transition earlier this year, and then the nursing board made changes. And I was very deep into the process, but I had to back out because it just wasn't going to work the way it was being set up. And so just in the last month, I got with a company. And so now this process has been, brewing behind the scenes. So it was just overdue.
What is that main thing you're going to offer once you do transition?
So primarily medical weight loss. Okay. That is definitely the hot ticket. I have a lot of leads and a lot of people who are interested in it right now. I'm also with a physician who's licensed in all 50 states. And so I'm getting my nurse compact license. So that gives me 42 states. So and I can move around.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I do it, I'm just going to knock the walls down.
What made you say, hey, I want to do medical weight loss out of all of the different things? And the reason why I ask that is because I don't see a lot of people specialize when it comes to our community, right? We don't specialize. We want to be a one-stop shop.
Right.
And the aesthetic world is, on average, is about 1.3, 1.5 a year. But Black aesthetics, medical aesthetic professionals don't do that. They do on average about 150,000 a year. Right. And the biggest reason is because they don't specialize in nothing. They want to be a one-stop shop. And that is not how you scale. Right. So what made you say, I want to specialize in medical weight loss?
So I see a lot of problems in the medical weight loss world right now. People are getting medications mailed to them. No doctor know their name, no blood drawn, nothing. And it's dangerous. And people are literally dying and having these, extreme symptoms from poorly managed medical weight loss. And I'm very much by the book. When I trained, I wasn't sure that medical weight loss was going to be my goal. And then seeing the gaps in the care and the setup and how I even have someone very close to me show me a thing of syringes, like, girl, you need to call this doctor. She's never met the doctor, no assessment, nothing. You don't even know if you are qualified to be getting this medication. And when you are on these medications, the right way, they're still high risk.
Yes.
So with the critical thinking brain that I have, I cannot sit back and just allow the industry, and especially us, because it's a lot of us doing it this way. I don't like it. And I feel like I just want to come in with a clean approach, a very clinical approach. We like the fluff and the content and stuff, but I want you to trust that I know what I'm doing and I'm not just trying to make money off of you.
Yeah. I see the people that win in aesthetics is the people who actually care. Because if you got in it for money, then you ain't gonna make no money. But if you got in because you care, you want to make a difference, you're gonna win, because when those slow seasons happen, you still stand up. When those good seasons happen, you still stand up. And so, like, even for us, when we came into the aesthetic world a year ago, even though I've been talking to this industry for the last 3 years, we was focused on just entrepreneurship in general. And then a year ago, when we got into the space, our first client was a girl named Stormy Anderson, right? And in 90 days, we took her from $15,000 a month to $109,000 a month in 1 month. And at that moment, we realized what was missing for the Black aesthetic professionals. It's the same thing we've been doing for every other industry. But what happens is the Black aesthetic professionals, first of all, impatient, number one. Impatient. Want a result too fast. But the result don't happen like that because it goes back to what's your trust level? What's your credibility? Mm-hmm. You just took a class last week and you want 1 million people in a day.
Right.
That ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. It might take a good 12 months to 24 months. Right. But it's like, are you willing to invest in yourself that whole time and believe in yourself? Because it's so easy to dominate this radius around your practice. But you got to you got to be coachable and you got to show up. And that's what we notice in the Black community is like they want to just do everything themselves and they want it instant and they don't want to build. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, but why?
And that immediate gratification, that desire for immediate gratification spills over to their clients who don't want to jump through the hoops. Yeah. They don't want it. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. And folks take it too lightly when they say dying to be beautiful. Yeah. It's literally that is happening. Yeah. And I think we need to be more responsible as service providers. And so, yeah, I see it a lot, and it's very disheartening. There's folks, and they're making money now. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. They're making money, but at what risk?
It ain't gonna last long.
At what risk? The liability it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not worth it.
It's a long term. Like, first of all, America been dealing with obesity for hundreds of years, first of all. It ain't going nowhere. They're gonna have different technology, different tools, different...
It's built into our life here.
Yes.
It's the food, it's everything.
If the number one business in the world in America is medical, they got to keep they engine running.
Right.
So it's like, I say it's no rush. But what's going to happen is it's going to be, as you might see now, like rules and regulations is changing state by state, especially whenever we get a part of something, it's going to get harder. So they're going to make the hula hoops a little more tinier, right, to jump through. So we have to be able to have results and make a difference and show up with etiquette. First of all, we got to show up with etiquette and we got to show that we deserve this. This is for us, right? And so that's our mission with the King of Content Firm is to use content to create trust, to create credibility, to help more sales, right? But it's not that, hey, let's party today. No, it's that let's go to work and let's show who we are and what we about. Because you got to think about it. All y'all are professional. You've been, you got to think. We first of all trust you guys with our life,
right?
First of all, before we even got into the aesthetics, right? So it's like now let's show up and show out, but let's do it by actually making an impact, actually getting our revenue to a point where we can make a difference and we can rebuild communities. I think that's how I look at it. Right. Like, but we got a longer term purpose over here at the King of Content. And so that's what I've seen when we transition. I said, hey,
I saw it too.
Yeah.
It was like, ooh, okay.
It was hard. It was a hard transition. Like it was like, so we went from making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to 8 months.
Where
right?
it just
entrepreneur
shifting.
Season.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur season was crazy. But then it was just like, it took off. But then what we start realizing is not everybody is for us.
Right.
You know, it's different, right? It's like, hey, this person mindset ain't there yet. Oh, they want something. They in survival mode today. Oh, we can't work with them right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, they impatient. They giving up too soon. If we say, hey, it's gonna take 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Give us that time.
Right.
Because we don't say it after the fact. We say it before the fact.
Proper expectations. Yes. right.
So it's like, yo, because we go look at your credibility level. So it's like, oh, no, we don't got that. We got to build that. That's first. And then it's like, all right, if somebody get leads, they be like, oh, but the leads, bad. Ain't no such thing as bad leads. You just ain't credible yet. They don't trust you yet.
Right.
Have you ever bought something from somebody you don't trust? Right. And so that's the biggest thing.
Right.
And so that's our mission. And so even for you, if you can put a spotlight on one of your superpowers, what would it be and why?
Oh, my superpower, just as karma, is being able to get people to trust me easily. Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. And this comes from childhood. I've always been the neutral Sweden. Yeah. What do you know? I've always been the neutral party. Two people got issues, they both coming to me. Yeah. helping folks navigate difficult situations is a superpower, and just being kind of a calming force when there is chaos. Yeah, I think I have a great personality, and it kind of just fits into any circumstance.
I love that.
Yeah.
How has content impacted your business?
Content, of course, showing people the what and the where and the why and all that. It keeps people informed. I notice when I come down from making content, we get a little lazy sometimes, but I notice that the numbers reflect the lack of content. Yeah. And so I say, okay, get it back together, get back out there. But it's broaden our the brand awareness.
Yes.
We get clients from Savannah, Texas, Tennessee. And at this point, we are the top in the Southeast for the skin tag and DPN treatments. That right now is my primary service.
Yes.
And so we've got folks from the Carolinas. It's amazing. And it's all from content. They see our results, the results sell themselves, and that's it.
Visibility is everything. And visibility make people want to travel.
Mm-hmm.
They not thinking about price, and they not thinking about, they like, oh my gosh, I got to work with Karma. I got to work with her team.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way people can see that, because they can't be near you every day, is from the content. So it's like, it's not let me do these trendy dances. No, it's like, let me show up and
with value and information. Yes.
Yes, that's what it's about.
I've had lots of students as well. When folks cross state lines to me for any reason, it really gives me that boost that I need. I danced once and was like, that's okay. I want me.
I don't got no rhythm.
Doing that again.
I don't got no rhythm, so I stay out the way.
And it actually got views. It got some traction, but that's not who I am. Yeah. And my people know that. They know that they won't catch me doing that again. I might pop out every now and then, but I'm very, I like to educate. I like to make sure people understand the deep reason why, not just the before and after. Let me run you this case study to show you what we did, how we got there, set those proper expectations. And then next thing you know, they're buying a ticket to Atlanta and coming to Covington of all places. So again, being in Covington and people finding us from out of state is another major notch in my belt as far as I'm concerned. Because it's Newton County. Folks are not seeking that location out necessarily, but it confirms that I'm doing the right thing.
I always tell people, like, you don't have to be in metro, right? Mm-hmm. I like the smaller cities better because it's easier for you to dominate. Mm-hmm. It might cost you a little more on the front end just to get out there, but the consistency will stay up. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is, a lot of times the aesthetic professionals don't realize the market and how much competition is in the market. And when they look at competition, most of the time they're looking at other med spas, other spas. Mm-hmm. They're not looking at plastic surgeons because they offer the same service. They're not looking at dermatologists because they offer a non-invasive as well. And so they also not looking at the clinics that offer this stuff. So it's like, oh, well, it's only this med spa. No, it's all of these people fighting for the same attention. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's why content, that's why marketing, that's why personality, that's why all of this matters for the trust, the credibility.
Right.
Because you have so much competition and it ain't slowing down.
Mm-hmm. It's not slowing down. Mm-mm. So I'm partners with several schools. I'm on a board of advisors with a couple schools in Georgia, beauty schools. Yeah. And when I go in the room, I ask the girls, who all wants to work for themselves. 90% of the hands go up, and I have to bring them to reality because also, if 90% of the hands go up, 80% of them are not making the extra investments to make sure that they are going to be competitive when they come out. So that's another big platform of mine. It's helping these new grads get it together because it's real out here, and it's a high concentration of aesthetics professionals coming out month after month.
Yes,
and
some of them got capital. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
listen, they come out swinging. Yeah.
So it's like, and that's why it's real big for us to be like, we want to work with the aesthetic professionals that want to be number one. Mm-hmm. Like, we used to take everybody when we first got, because we was new. Now we transition. If you want to be number one, then work with us. Mm-hmm, if you don't want to be number one, we don't want to work with you. We don't, because it takes a lot to be number one. right? But it also is like, that means you're going to be more accountable.
Right.
You're going to show up when you're supposed to show up. You ain't going to make excuses, right? And so we more focus on the ones who want to be number one in their marketplace. And we enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, we enjoying it because we got some people, we was like,
this ain't going to work.
Nah, let me just send them back their money. Let me send, but you know, when you the only way you can know is by testing. Like, it was one thing talking to the communities for the last couple of years, but it's different working with them.
Right.
And we don't coach, we do. So it's a big difference. So it's like, we ain't tell you go do that over there. No, we're doing it for you so it can work quicker. Right. And so that's a big thing. So when you do the transition from spa to med spa, is there a rebranding, this or
so? No, because I previously had a nurse practitioner I was partnering with where we did Botox parties. So we've already established somewhat of a reputation of being med spa centered. But to officially make the transition, I'm working with Candace now, actually, on my full launch strategy. She's like, I want you to knock this out the park. So this is a big deal. But no rebranding. I'm going to probably do some cosmetic little tiny facelift. But no, I'm just ready to, I already have all the equipment for the most part, and I'm just still onboarding with the company so I can have all my things in place to launch appropriately. But no, I'm ready. I'm
that.
So excited. You don't understand. This has been a long time coming.
I know. I love it. And I want to just let you know I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I seen you get your award the other day too.
Thank you.
I seen how impactful that was for you.
Yeah,
I seen that. Like, and you could just tell you was grateful and thankful. And I thought that was like, oh, that was a dope moment.
Yeah, that community is, it's a family, and to have been around for so long and just seen all the different transitions and stuff, it means a lot to see it still standing. And like, even that day that the health of the community is just, it's good. So I invite everybody to become a part of the Spa Boss Tribe.
Yes. No, I love that. And I just want to thank you for your time today, for showing up on the show, for, pointing to the people. I think that's real big. And I think that's what we need in this space. I think that's what was been missing. It's like to let people know that you're going to go through your entrepreneur seasons, but just don't give up while you're in it. You're not the only one that's going through it. It's people that have been through it already.
Right.
And that's why I want to hear y'all stories. And that's why I want you to keep inspiring, keep motivating, because right now the aesthetic industry is about $4 billion. Actually, for 2025, it's supposed to be around $24 billion. Then 2030, it's going to be at $42 billion. Right. And so what that means is so much scale. But we cannot be at the bottom of the totem pole. Y'all done already invested decades in the medical.
Right.
Now let's build the communities. Let's get the resources. Let's make a difference. So let's educate. Let's push. Let's invest. And to really making our culture healthier. Mentally too, physically too, emotionally, and financially. So.
And I'm glad to be an inspiration to, when I first started my business, I wrote my first ebook was Help, I Don't Want to Be a Nurse Anymore. It was a quick start guide to career change, just a few pages, and it goes crazy. I put it in nursing groups and they're like, oh my God, how did you do it? People want something different. They want something different for themselves.
Yeah. And they just got to see somebody else do it to know that it's possible sometimes. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Content Aesthetic Show. The biggest thing I want you to do is take away today is build. Sometimes you're going to pivot. Sometimes things ain't going to go the way you want them to go, but it's okay. Just as long as you keep going, you will win. And it might not happen instantly. Matter of fact, it's not. Growth is not pretty. Growth, I never ever seen growth be pretty. It is ugly. You're going to get stretched. You're going to go through things you ain't never been through before, but it's worth it. Do not give up while you're in the storm. All right. I'm Dontel Antonio, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Content Aesthetic Show.